I've had former porn stars on my podcast, and it's like, they begin to look at sex as transactional. The amount of drugs and alcohol and greed and just evil that's going on behind the scenes. Yeah. You guys are a Christian podcast. There's obviously a massive audience that is spiritual here. If you don't think that what you're consuming through the lens of that, because of all that going on behind the scenes, is infiltrating you and your thoughts and your life and your heart and your spirit, then you don't really understand what the spiritual realm is really about. So we need to look at it for what it really is. I had a former heroin addict on early on in the podcast, and one of the game-changing conversations that he and I was having was a conversation that he had with a doctor, and the doctor brought up, like, you're doing these drugs, but do you realize these drugs have gone down a train of murder, greed, the Mexican cartel, all of this, evil stuff that's taking place. That's what you're putting into your body. Same thing is happening with pornography. These actresses and actors are on drugs. The women are getting beaten, abused. They're there because they're just
underage, illegal stuff going on. Who knows?
Yeah, and then we're not even talking. And then we can talk about the trafficking side of things, where people are recording amateur stuff and then they're selling it. There's been a huge thing with Pornhub in the last year. They pulled down 10 million videos from their site because there's no age verification. So you don't know if you're watching somebody that's 15. You don't know if she's being there, held under her own will. So yeah, to say that you're not hurting anybody, for one, you're hurting yourself, because we just talked about the damage that you're doing to your brain, how you're hijacking your prefrontal cortex, how you're, hijacking your reward system. You're hurting yourself. So if you don't love yourself enough to worry about that, then you don't really understand the other people that you're hurting as well.
Wow. There was a moment, and I don't know why or what in particular. I don't know. It was a conversation. It was long before you had recovery yourself. And I had a moment, and I think it was the late summer or fall of 2018, that I just swore I'm not doing this stuff anymore. I don't know. Again, I don't know what it was, if I had prayed about it or had a conversation with somebody about it, but it hit me to the point where, I just don't feel right now. I feel like I'm like God's watching me right now, and He's not happy, And I swore I'm not going to do it anymore, and I haven't done it since. But has there been moments where I've thought about doing it? Of course. I'm a man. I'm a guy. I did it for years and years and years. But I just got to that point where I'm like, I don't like that feeling afterwards, and I'm like, what? I don't even know where I was clicking around for half an hour. The heck was I looking at?
It's real conviction. I always give the analogy, everybody knows a former smoker. They know somebody in their life that was a smoker at one point, and now most people, maybe there's a person out there Frankie knows what you're talking about. 98% of people have somebody currently in their life that at one point was a smoker and is now no longer a smoker. You are with that person in a public setting and walk through a cloud of smoke. What is that person's reaction?
Oh, my God.
Disgust, right? Yeah. Yes, that person that used to need a cigarette after every meal or need a cigarette first thing upon rising now is disgusted by it. So that same level of conviction is something that we're going to need to really stay committed.